Hey guys, this is Kai. Today we're going to do something a little bit different, and we're going to take a look at one of my images that was critiqued by three people. So a nice shout out to Lee White, Jake Parker, and Will Terry of SVS for taking the time to take a look at this image and give me their thoughts on it. So usually I don't see a lot of people doing a painting and then repainting that image maybe in a different way, or they get a critique, they redo it. I don't see that much online, so I thought that it'd be kind of interesting to see and share with you guys what I might do. So with this, I took their critiques and I didn't use everything that they said because there was some disagreement about what one of them liked versus what somebody else liked, and so I guess my job was just really to kind of simplify it and take out what I thought I liked and put it down on the paper. So we'll go over some of the critiques that they talked about, and then I'll show you the image that I drew, and then we'll kind of move on into the speed painting of that image, and I'll take you kind of through the technique that I used in my painting. So a couple different things, the critiquing plus how I ended up actually painting the image. So first off, we'll talk about the critique. One of the things I thought was interesting is when I made this image here, I really was going for a day image, but I think I made a mistake in it when I basically took a little bit darker airbrush, and I kind of went around the sides to really try to bring the viewer into the middle, and that made it where my image started appearing to look like it might be at night. So that was one of the issues, because one of the things that one of the critiques, I should say, was that a lot of the launches don't really happen at night. They'll happen at sunrise and things. So with it being at night, it didn't really make too much sense. But like I said, I was trying to do it during the day, but obviously I made a mistake with making the sides a bit too dark. So that was one of the issues that I addressed in the next image. Also, they talked about a quick read. Now, when I started doing this, I actually didn't even make a drawing. I just had an idea, and I went into the painting because pretty much painting is what I enjoy doing the most. But I was really worried about the values of this, and so when I take away the values or the color, I really wanted this to read. And so I was hoping you could see this character, you could see the rocket, and those were my two main focal points, and I wanted that to read really quick. Well, another problem with the reading that they had is that basically the character's environment. So if somebody looks at this really quick, they think, oh, it's a spaceman, maybe they're being left behind until they see the teddy bear, and then they think it's a kid. So the environment wasn't as good as it possibly could be. So that was another part of this that I addressed. Sometimes I'll try to, I've been trying to simplify some of the things within an image with basic shapes, and that was another issue with their critique, is that this rocket was perhaps too simple, and it looked like maybe a missile or something to that effect. So that is another piece that I made some changes to. They all talked about the character's body position, as far as if maybe the character should be looking away and maybe working on something, or if they should be looking up at the rocket. Now, when I initially made this, my idea was that the character has been working around here, but he's looking up at basically his future. So as this reads, your talents will be recognized and rewarded. But even though I like this, I did want to do something a little bit different. I changed the character's body position in the next image, and you'll see that. Another part of the critique was the possibility of using more of a vertical composition as opposed to a horizontal composition, which is what this is. And I went ahead and made that change within my next painting. Those were the main critiques, and that's really what I tried to work on in my next painting. With this one, what I did was make the image very simple, make it easy to read, and I think I did that, but the problem is that the environment setting was not reading good enough. Oh, and one other thing was the rocket itself. They thought that maybe the rocket should be maybe a bit more rickety, really kind of look like a kid attempted to build it and what have you. So that was another part that I worked on in the next image. So let's take a look at the drawing that I did with these changes. As you can see here, we have the rickety rocket, which we just kind of talked about. The environment, put him in a backyard, which was something that they kind of like the idea of, is putting him in a backyard, so you could easily see that he's where he's at, as opposed to this other image where you couldn't really tell that he was in a field. Which the main reason why I did it like this is because I always saw a lot in my references, I saw a lot of rockets being shot off near some water. That was one of the reasons I went ahead and put this in. I was thinking more along the lines where the house is behind the camera's view, and I guess it really didn't work out as far as how some people took a look at it. But so this is why I made the change over in here. I want to do something different with his body position, so I made him actually working on something, as opposed to looking up towards his future. He's looking more down and really working on what will eventually be his future. And then speaking of the rocket right here, this rocket was simple. This one's a little bit more complex, and you can see it's actually a space shuttle. And I think that's about all that I really tried to put into the new painting. We'll take a look at the speed painting now, and I'll kind of walk you through how I do a painting, or at least how I did this painting. As we begin this, it goes really quick, but I'll try to give you a few of the techniques that I use. A big technique is I use the lasso tool quite a bit, and right here what I'm doing is I'm separating a lot of the elements, actually all the elements within the image. So the garage and even the inside the garage, I have those as separate elements, and I put each element inside its own layer. And what you'll see me do in just a little bit is that once I have the whole image separated into its own elements, I will use clipping masks on each element, so I don't go outside the lines of that element. I'm starting to add colors here, and I'm using reference that you see over to the left. I mainly use that reference for the background, so I could get that sunrise color that I wanted. And as I'm using colors, what you'll notice a little bit as I go is I go from a mid-tone to a darker to a lighter of a certain color, but I don't only just work inside of the square in that colorless on the bottom right of your screen. I also kind of go around the circle, so if I'm wanting a warmer color, I will use that circle and go towards a warmer color, as well as moving it inside of the square. If I want a cooler, I'll move it towards a cooler color on the circle, and then I'll also kind of move it inside of the square. So if you end up paying attention to that, you're watching it a few times, that's really what I'm doing. I'm trying to work around the color wheel with the colors. Skin tone, I make sure that I use different colors within the skin tone of the character, because it's not just a basic tan color. That's where you get a lot of flat. If you like flat, then that's fine, but me, I like to try to get it a little bit more believable to be a skin tone. Right there for the fence, I used the fence itself to create the shadow of the fence. I just duplicated the layer and then brought it down and then lightened it. Here you see me use the lasso tool quite a lot. Even within the clipping mask, I use the lasso tool, and that helps me out to be able to control edge a lot more. Trying to work on that ship to create a little bit of the color, a little bit of the shadow that I'm wanting. Then back onto the character. Just trying to work him a little bit. One problem I have when I try to do this painterly style is every time I run into a character's face, I feel like I always end up smoothing it out too much. So I always come back, and you'll see me come back to this character's face and try to rough it up almost a little bit, like I'm doing right here. and I'll keep coming back even to his arms and everything, and that's what I'm doing with the shirt. Is I feel like I've smoothed it out too much, so I'm trying to rough it, because I like that painterly style, and that's one of my goals, is to try to get a little bit better with that. I do pretty well with smoothing of things, but I want to get, I'm looking for myself to get a lot more texture, because I do enjoy that style also. Adding shadow to the character, I don't like it, so I take it away and I come back to it later. I jump around in my paintings a lot. Some people do, some people don't. I think it's good because it gives a little bit of balance to your image. If you stay on one spot the whole time, then you might end up getting bored when you're forced to go to another section. But so I do bounce around a lot. Maybe it's ADD, I don't know. Yeah, just moving to the garage. I find I don't always solidify everything that I absolutely want inside of a drawing. I'll get into the painting, and that's when I discover either problems or something I want more of. I think it's just, for me, I enjoy the painting more, and I'm able to recognize more issues or something that I like more when I get into the painting part of an image. Trying to add some red to the character's face. And here I'm giving a little bit of lighting to the skin. I think I do it in a minute. Add some a little bit of bounce light towards him. A little bit of red off the shirt, a little bit of blue off the paper if I haven't already done it a little bit already. Right there is a little bit of bounce lighting onto the arm. And here I'm trying to get it a little bit more messy, add a little bit more texture onto the character shirt. And I use a mixer brush also, along with other brushes, just to try to get things mixed together and make things not look so smooth. Doing the same thing with the box. Once I get all the edges that I kind of want, I'll stop using a clipping mask and I'll go over top of the image. That way I rough up the edges. Even if I want a solid edge, sometimes I still want that edge to be kind of rough. So once again, it gives that painterly style to it. Adding an adjustment layer, and the adjustment layer that I added here was mostly for the light to come through. I give it a little bit of a blur, and then I kind of erase out the elements that I don't want. And this whole thing, a lot of it goes away, but it's like with any painting that you do, it's really layers. You know, you get a little bit here, a little bit there, and it all adds up, even if you're only using a little bit of something. You can see in this, the shuttle is not as basic as in the first blue sky image that I did. And here I'm roughing up the edges for the fence, because the edges for the fence were really smooth, and it just didn't look right for the painting. It didn't really go with the rest of the painting. And that's about it, and that's the final image we have. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you do, please like it, please subscribe, share the videos with somebody else, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.